All right, what's going on, guys? So just like with melee, I figured I would put out a quick gear guide and rotation guide for ranged so that you guys can start using it and start getting into it. Now, the unfortunate thing about ranged is that until you get your big ticket drops like Greater Ricochet and Bow the Last Guardian and Saren Godbow and Eldritch Crossbow, as well as the 3 Essence of Finalities you need, ranged kind of sucks. You don't have that many basics, and the basics that you do have don't have any like crazy utility, so it's just not that good. And because it's not that good, it's also not very complicated. You don't have like a berserk rotation like you do with melee, where the order you use your abilities in is actually really important. With ranged, you just click on the thing, and then you dead shot, and then you death swiftness, and then you use your rapid fire, and then you use your snapshot. That's basically it, which sucks, but the range is an extremely top heavy style where the more money you have, you get exponential increases in how much damage you get to do. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but ranged does have one big upside, and that is against poisonal bosses. Ranged has a ton of multi-hits. If you have Greater Ricochet, this can hit up to 7 times. I don't have any perks on any of my stuff, so it's only going to hit 3, but that's still 3 extra times. Corruption Blast or Corruption Shot hits 5 times. Piercing Shot hits twice. Fragmentation Shot hits 5 times. Snapshot hits twice. Rapid Fire hits 8 times. Dead Shot hits 9 times. It's just a lot of multi-hits, which means you get a lot of synergy with your Cinderbanes, which is very, very good. That's the big upside of range, is that even at the lower end, you get to use Cinderbanes a lot better than the other styles get to. So now we'll talk about our action bar. Also, that's why in my gear I have Cinderbanes. I truly don't recommend you using range if you're not fighting a poisonal boss. I'm not even necessarily sure it's going to be better against a poisonal boss than melee would be, but this is where range really shines because you have so many multi-hits. So the way my bar is set up is basically so that if you click on an enemy, your bar will just auto-fire your abilities with no downtime in a loop. And there is a slight delay that happens after like 30 seconds. But as long as you press your snapshot or your rapid fire or your dead shot or your tendrils, at some point, you won't experience that delay at all. So the delay would be right here where the snipe would be cast. That won't happen if you press literally any other ability in the rotation. So just be aware that that's why my bar is set up the way it's set up. My abilities are organized in the order of how powerful they are. So that's pretty much all there is to it. I like having all my ultimates on the Z button, or all of my damage increase ultimates on the Z button and on the first button in my action bar. That's why it's here. If you don't want to have this here, you can just make your revolution bar 6 wide instead of 7. That's an option. Range does not have that many thresholds. Basically, you use all of the thresholds that you can, and then you don't use Bombard because Bombard is an AoE threshold, and we don't really use range for AoE scenarios. We either use magic or melee. That's what these thresholds are. Snapshot does very good damage, and it hits twice. Rapid Fire does also very good damage and hits 8 times, so this is going to be one of your most important abilities because of how we care about multi-hits. Tendrils is very good, but it has a self-damage aspect to it. It doesn't do that much self-damage, but it does have self-damage, so if you're below half, then you're probably not going to want to use Tendrils, so just keep that in mind. And then for our last ultimate, we have Deadshot. I have Incendiary Shot on this bar, but that's because I have max gear. If you don't have max gear, I would honestly just say don't bother with Incendiary Shot. It costs too much adrenaline and doesn't give you enough damage plus upside for it to be worth it. Deadshot, however, is very good. This has 9 hits. You have your 1 initial hit and then 8 extra bleeds, which is very good. And this is also just another big multi-hitting move. It also costs 40% with my setup. I have the Ring of Vigor passive, and I have Conservation of Energy, so this is only going to cost 40%. So you basically want to use this once before you Death Swiftness, and then once immediately after or as it's ending. Because notably, your bleed damage does not increase by Death Swiftness, only your non-bleed hits. But the first shot of Deadshot can get his damage increased. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, that's why our bar is set up the way it's set up. Now, in terms of our rotation, it's really simple. So for the rotation, you Deadshot your enemy, and then you build up to 100%, and you Death Swiftness. Now that we've Death Swiftness, as soon as we're at 50%, we rapid fire. We're rapid firing first because we want to get multiple rapid fires off in our living death. So we rapid fire first. Then we use snapshot. And if we're above 100%, or if we're above like 50% health, we'll use shadow tendrils. If not, we just won't use it. And then now we'll just ability Q rapid fire. So what he uses as soon as it's off cooldown. And then here we Deadshot again. The initial hit is going to get buffed. And then our bleeds are going to do the bleed damage. And now we just build up to 100 again. We can snapshot, and then we can rapid fire again if we wanted to. And then, yeah, you just rinse and repeat. So ranged is super simple. The order of your abilities doesn't matter, which sucks, but, you know, that's what it is. But again, the big upside of range is that you have a ton of multi-hits. So a good boss to try this on is Hellweir. For our aura, we're going to be using Vampirism. Because of the way that Blood Reavers work, they do on-hit damage based on how much you're healing. Vampirism is just going to be your best in slot here. Especially at lower levels, because you're getting most of your like crazy damage from these poison procs. So that's why we're going all in on poison. We're just going all in on our multi-hits, and we're going all in on poison. So let's pot up. For context, I did a kill before this video without the poison build, and it was like a 143. So hopefully we can get a pretty dramatically improved kill time, maybe around a 130, 120. But we'll see how it ends up going. So we'll Deadshot, because that's the first thing that we're going to do. It's always the first thing. It's the most important thing. Because we have so much healing, I'm just going to tank this hit. Okay, so we're going to protect melee. We're going to walk over here. We're going to rapid fire. We're going to snapshot. I'm just going to make sure we keep doing our bleeds. So I'm going to manually click the fragmentation shot. I'm going to rapid fire here. We're going to Deadshot again. And again, all we're doing is making sure we're hitting all of our multi-hits. So yeah, because this boss is poisonable, we saved literally 40 seconds by just going into all of our poison damage and really capitalizing on the thing that makes range really good at low levels, which is poison and multi-hits. So 1 minute 4, it's not amazing, but again, you have to consider that was without any good gear, and without all of the poison synergies, I was getting 145s consistently. Also, if you don't have a Scripture of When and you do like ranged, Scripture of When is significantly better than Scripture of Jazz against poisonable bosses. This is because Scripture of When hits 5 times every time it procs. So assuming it procs a couple of times, we're actually should be able to get an even faster kill time here. So let's try it again, and we'll just show how much better this is. Again, we're starting with Deadshot. Again, we're going to tank this hit. Our Blood Reaver can't heal us if we're at full health. So, or rather, we can't heal if we're at full health. So that's why we are making sure we're not at full health. So we'll rapid fire. The snapshot. Our health is pretty good, so we will tendrils here. We'll rapid fire again. And yeah, so that was 10 seconds faster. That goes to show how powerful the poison build is. Poison is very, very good. And honestly, until you start getting your high-end gear, that's the only way I recommend using ranged with budget gear. It's unfortunate, but ranged lacks utility basics. Ranged lacks damage. All ranged really has early game is multi-hits. So the best way to abuse multi-hits is with poison. But yeah, hopefully this shows you guys a little bit of what you can expect with your budget ranged and how you can go about using it. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. The next video is going to come out. It's going to be a budget magic video, so you have that to look forward to. Budget magic is significantly better than budget ranged, especially because you have access to anime dead and tank armor and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to give it a like. If you like the channel, I would appreciate a subscription. And I will catch you guys in the next one.